It's a blessing to welcome on one of the all-time great Portland State stars. He was a big-time player for ASU last year, and he's decided to stay home and attend Grand Canyon next year. That's Holland Woods. How you doing, man?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good. Well, take us through this because it's been a crazy college journey so far. You've broke a lot of records. Now you make your final destination point at Grand Canyon. Take us how you're feeling right now.
I'm excited. Grand Canyon, GCU, like it's a place like I always felt like I could see myself playing. But just being home and being able to be in a situation where I can flourish and be the best version of myself, and also be with the best teammates that I could be around and coaches, and like it's all exciting because we'll have a really good chance with the guys we have coming in to go and repeat and go back to the dance again.
This has been a program that's really been rising a lot quicker than most programs typically do. And this team so far, what's on paper, is looking special. When you're talking about taking two guys from, or really the whole guys that have all transferred in from high major guys that are either starting or key roles. Obviously, you and Tayshawn coming down to play. You got Ivan, you've got Aiden, you got Walter, a lot of guys adding on to the returners. Like, how special is this team starting to look for you guys?
I mean, like you said, on paper, it looks great. I mean,
Mhm.
but it's all gonna matter once we hit the floor. If everyone's just willing to buy into the things that really matter.
Absolutely. Well, we're gonna get back into Grand Canyon a little bit, but I want fans to get to know you a little bit better. So let's kind of head back. You're already staying home, so you're in Arizona, growing up out here. What was it like growing up out in Arizona?
Um, I mean, it's a little different from like when I was in high school versus how it is now. So I see like with my brothers, it's like there's almost a camera at every single game, and like the exposure part, like Arizona's like a big like it's getting up there. Like it's a big like powerhouse with like national news and everything. So I mean, when I was in high school and when I was coming up, it was a little different. You had AZ Finest and that was it. And
Mhm.
Mike was basically running that all alone. So it was hard because in my class in 2017, we were pretty loaded and we had a lot of good players. And he was located in the East Valley. So I mean, it was different for me. Just I think that's probably the biggest takeaway for me is like the way I'm seeing like one all the prep schools and just all like the media that's in Arizona that helps like get these kids exposure.
That's a huge thing, and we all know that you didn't come out as the national name. You weren't ranked anywhere. But would you have possibly considered, like, if this was the kind of that group you're growing up with now, like, would you have possibly went to per se a Hillcrest, a Compass, a Dream City? Like, would you have explored the prep route if that was really an opportunity for you back then?
I'm sure because I mean all when I was a senior in high school, junior, like all the best players were at the public school that was basically closest to him for the most part.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, I'm sure like if that would have been the case and it would have turned out being I'm sure I would have ended up at one of these prep schools with all the other good players because at the end of the day, it's whatever's going to get you looked at the most. And it's
Mhm.
basically like year round, like AAU basketball almost in the exposure aspect and being able to be seen by coaches and stuff. So, I mean, it's exciting for like basketball. Like it's different. It's
Mhm.
definitely different than like the usual high school basketball route. But I mean, it seems like a lot of fun, like watching my brothers play, like with the prep schools.
And you mentioned that there wasn't a lot of media back then, but really the reason there is so much more is because of your group. Like when you talk about guys like Marcus Howard, Marvin Bagley, Saban, Barcelo, you, Mitch, like that whole group of guys, like you guys were the ones that started getting a lot more attention, bringing the spotlight back to Arizona. So what was like being part of that group, like kind of getting the spotlight back in Arizona? What was like being part of that?
I mean, it's special to feel like you're doing anything for the place you represent. And not even being like the main part of it. It's just like being like a piece, like something so small that can help like impact everybody else coming up.
Now, I have to put you a little bit on the spot, but when you're talking about guys from Arizona, like let's say the next past like 5, 6 years, like since you've been in high school all the way to today, the 2021 class, like what would your all like dream team for Arizona look like?
Dang. I'll probably go with me,
Hmm.
Marvin, Dre Marin. He played at Apollo with me.
Hmm.
Marcus is on there for sure.
Hmm.
And probably Saban. A little small ball lineup with Marv. Think we'd be pretty nice.
And how about off the bench?
Off the bench. Oh, I gotta give the bench too. I mean, then at that point you just gotta give like everyone credit. Then like there's guys like Alex.
Mm.
Dang, I'm over here thinking now like I've never been put on the spot like this, and it's like now I like feel for guys like KD. I don't know. There were just so many there were so many players like in my class. Like everyone was all over the it's weird because
Mhm.
like I didn't play against Alex like until my senior year. Like versus when when we played each other in sixth grade in every championship in like growing up. So it's like it's hard. Like I know I'm probably forgetting a ton of people, but it's like that's like who I can just think of right now. Like Shaver,
Mhm.
like House, Jovan, um, yeah, like really just I can't really think of everybody. There were so many players like Bibby, JJ, Carlos,
Mhm.
um, like that 16, 17, 18-ish range. I just felt like we were so loaded with players. Like there was just so much talent like everywhere from like the West Valley to the East Valley.
And a lot of the things that keep looking at, like Marvin, obviously exception, he's Marvin, but a lot of these guys are like elite guards, the point guards, shooting guards that have been making. Like we just mentioned all those guys, and then you look at the modern day guys. Ty's out there doing his thing. DT is kind of a point guard, small forwardish role, but like seeing how many guards come from the state, like what is the case for that? Like why are there so many great guards being born, raised, and turning into great college and pro players now?
I don't know. I just feel like we've always like that's just been the thing here ever since Bibby and Bayless and like guys like that like set the tone of like being like a great guard like from Arizona. So I just felt like guards coming up like always looked at that. And when we were younger, Arizona was like a big like it was like you're either here or Vegas or California. Like Arizona used to be big like that. And it's like I just felt like as we were younger, like we were looking up to guys like Dwayne Russell and
Mhm.
like just there were so many local guys. Like I just felt like there's always been a guard that was ahead of like the younger guys. And then like same with us, like we were the older guys. I'm sure there were younger kids looking up to us. And I mean the same thing going on now. Like I just feel like it's the bit there's bigs are so like to be like a really really talented big. There's not much here in
Mhm.
Arizona. Like Marvin was like the one. So like with the exception of him, like it's just always been guards. So like I felt like that's what made him also so different and so special. I mean, let alone from his talent and everything.
In terms of some of the young guys, you've been back home now for a year, so you kind of got to see a little bit of what's going on out here. Like the guys that are either, even some of the guys like DT, like the freshmen on down to Duran, like those guys, like who's some of the great up and coming Arizona guys that's coming out of here that's going to be stars at the college and possibly pro level in the future?
I mean, I like Marcus Wade, my little brother. I like Paris Woods, my little brother. And not even being biased.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I like a couple of their teammates. Big lefty Josiah, he's really talented. Um, Younger kid Vince,
Mm-hmm.
shooter. I like him a lot. I mean, like Ty Ty's really doing it. Like he's taken over.
Mm-hmm.
Like his senior year has been extremely special. Um, like you said, Dalen obviously. Like Dalen was doing a bunch of special things, being a really big 6'7" point guard. Like you don't see a lot of guys that can do the things that he was doing at Hillcrest. Mike Foster, he's a real deal. Um, Jemai, he's really good. He's really talented, athletic. Uh, LaQ, I like Deshaun a lot. Uh, Isaiah Brody, I like his game a lot. He's grown on me a lot. I like the way he plays. He plays hard.
Oh yeah.
Kimbrough, I like a lot of those guys. Like they really they play really hard. Like
Mm-hmm.
I can always like someone that's gonna play hard rather than, especially now, like I said, like with all the cameras and stuff, like the guys like doing everything for the cameras. Like at the end of the day, like if you play hard, I'm gonna be a fan of your game regardless.
Absolutely. Well, let's get into your career a little bit. You choose to go to Apollo, and that's where you break the school scoring record, the school assist record. You really create your entire name at that school. But what led to you going there? Like, why is Apollo the school you chose to attend?
I mean, me and Dre, we played together starting in like seventh, eighth grade.
Mhm.
It might have been a little recruiting point for his dad. Who knows? But I mean, me and him had a bond like ever since then, and it was time to go to high school, and his dad was the coach there, and
Mhm.
I just felt like I didn't really know where else to go. Like I had no clue where I was gonna go. Like my closest school was Kellis, and they've never been like known for like really like nothing against them, but it's like they've never really had anything like that. And I knew him over there, and I mean it was they were like family, so it was kind of like a no brainer to go there.
So if I would have told you at that point that you're going to break the school assist and scoring record, you're going to do all this great stuff in high school, you're going to become a Division I player, be able to come back home and represent a school like Arizona State for a year, and then come to Grand Canyon, like if I would have told you you're going to achieve all this stuff at both the high school and college level, would you have believed that heading into high school?
Heading into high school, I did have like a my confidence has always been like through the roof in myself, so I would have believed it, but I also would have been like, why am I not gonna be like Duke starting point guard too? So, I mean, I always was like that. Just that's something my dad instilled in me ever since I was younger, just to always have like an extremely high confidence level and just never doubt anything. So I mean, it's definitely crazy to think about like my career so far. Like I never would have imagined like all of the things that have happened, but I mean, God willing, I'm at where I am today. So I mean, I can't be nothing but blessed, man.
Now, there's something unique about you. Like you never take a step back at any level you've been at so far. Every year of high school, you got much better, like drastically increased each year. In college, then your first 3 years, like, obviously each year got better. ASU is different. You also changed different levels. You had COVID, a lot of stuff happened there. But like, how have you always been able to grow drastically throughout each season?
I just feel like the work I put in. I feel like I work extremely hard to. I put myself and my body through a lot to be the player I am. And I mean, you just like it's work. Like I mean, like I've been putting in all these hours and countless hours and hours and hours in my whole life, and I just feel like it's all like finally getting to a point where it's like it's starting to finally pay off, and I'm gonna just keep working. And like I said before, God willing, everything keep going the way it's going. I'm gonna continue to believe in myself and continue to just try and get better each and every day.
So let's go into that underclassmen years for you at Apollo. The first year, you averaged about 10 points per game, pretty solid year. And then your sophomore, you bump up to 14 points per game. But what were those first 2 years like there?
It was different. My freshman year, we had so many seniors, and I I felt like I was a really good player, but we had some players where I was like, no, like they're better than me right now. I
Yeah.
physically wasn't ready to. My body just wasn't ready for that yet. So I mean, like the jump from my freshman to sophomore year was basically all the seniors graduated. Like our team was like full of freshmen and sophomores.
Mhm.
Um, and Coach Martin was basically like, all right, like if we're gonna be good, like you and Dre gotta go now. So it was like we were kind of just thrown into the fire almost our sophomore year, like, just keep developing. And it was a tough year. So many teams were good. Like Shadow was really good. That's who we would have had to play. But just our team from top to bottom, we just weren't ready to really go out there and compete for a state championship yet, I felt like, and especially with us all being so young.
I'm not sure how many people that's watching this one know this yet, but you do have a nickname that a lot of people go by, especially in Arizona. That's Booboo. How'd you get that nickname? I got to take us through that a little bit.
Um, I mean, it kind of sucks. I don't have like some crazy story about it. But my mom wanted to name me Holland, so and I'm the second, so I'm not junior. So she wanted like my name to be something where I couldn't have any nicknames. And
Mhm.
then my dad just decided to just call me Boo Boo like out of nowhere, and it stuck. And then I when I started playing basketball in about like fourth, fifth grade, um, my dad was my coach, so he's yelling boo 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 like all throughout these tournaments. And then it's like I was friendly, I was friends with everyone. Like House was probably in like second or third grade at the time. He's running around boo 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 like a little kid. Like so it kind of just stuck. And I mean, like once it stuck, it was just all the way up until I mean, like it's still a thing now. Coach Drew calls me Boo all the time. So I mean, I think it's gonna come back. I think it's working its way back.
So did Coach Drew know about that? Because obviously he's not from Arizona, but like, how did he pick up on already know the nickname?
I had no idea. He texted me the first day I got in the portal. He texted me and he was like, he just texted me about some things, and then he was like, "Yeah, man," and he was like, "Yeah, Boo Boo," and I was like, "Wait, how'd you know about that one?" I was surprised because Coach Hurley didn't even call me that, so I was surprised that he even knew about it.
They have to always take us to your family because I know you also, like you mentioned, you have Paris, Marcus, both doing their thing in high school right now. Your dad's pretty well known across the valley. But what was it kind of growing up with this family, having two other little brothers you can kind of look up to you and play basketball with as well, and also having your dad in your life?
It's always just it's been like a big family thing, and
Hmm.
like my dad's been someone that's always accepted like everyone like with open arms. So all my closest friends are people like they're not just my friends, it's like they're my brothers and sisters. And like just the way like he carried himself as like this person in the basketball community, it was amazing, and it was fun to watch, and it made my life so much better because of it. And it made me just make a million friends because of how he was with everybody. So I mean, with that part, like that was just amazing. I mean, I thank him for it all the time. And then like just with my little brothers, like watching them from when they were coming up versus me being in Portland for 3 years and I never seen them play other than like summer league games. So the first time I actually seen Marcus play in high school was the state championship. I flew down here for a night and I had to
Hmm.
fly back the next day because I had a game that night. And so I mean, like being here and being able to be around them and help them, like because watching them go through the things I was going through, I mean, it's crazy to think about like all the things people tell you when you're younger, like, oh, this and that. And it's like, yeah, whatever. But like, I feel like I'm to the point where like, I'm not old, like old man or anything, but it's like, I'm telling them these things and I can tell they're looking at me like, yeah, whatever. Like I have plenty of time. But I mean, it's been amazing being around them and just being with my family again.
And obviously, everyone can take different routes. A lot of guys do go out of state. You start off out of state, obviously out there in Portland, but just that feeling of staying home, being supported by friends and family, especially when you're in a community like Arizona basketball world is, where it's really close and connected. Like, how important is that, and what's it like just being a part of being back home, both at ASU now and now you're at Grand Canyon, but just being home playing out here, like, what's that like?
I mean, it's special. I mean, it's a saying that goes all the way back. There's no place like home. I mean, just like having like you feel like you have a ton of support. Like it's a different type of support than I had in Portland. It's like my community is really supporting me. Like I'm playing for something else bigger than just
Hmm.
like the school. Like I'm playing for my state. I'm playing for my city. I'm playing from like where I'm from. So I mean, just being home and like playing for a place you've also always wanted to play for, it just means so much more.
Let's go back into high school a little bit. That's your upperclassman year. So your junior year, you go 25-4. Your senior year, 26-4. Only 8 losses as an upperclassman, and both years you're averaging well above 20 points per game. What led to that? Like, what allowed you to start emerging as becoming one of the better players in the state?
I mean, like just work and my confidence. I just my the way my dad had me, he just like he was like you're like that guy, like don't ever think anyone's better than you. And he just like the confidence he instilled in me and just like the work we put in, like I felt like I was just working harder than anybody else was. And I mean, I felt like I was doing as much as I could for my team and for myself to be like the best we could be. And I mean, it didn't end up working out, but I mean, I felt like I still had an amazing high school career.
And you mentioned Dre quite a bit, and you guys obviously formed that duo for 4 years together. He's out playing college basketball too. What was it just kind of growing that bond with him and really developing into one of the better dynamic duos in the state?
I mean, to this day, I mean, high school wise, I mean, I still will argue that we're probably the best backcourt,
Hmm.
like stats wise. And I mean, you could put us up against anyone, and I felt like I was gonna take us at the end of the day. So I mean, for us to be so under recruited and everything, I felt like everything we went through, like we were never really handed anything. So I felt like all the adversity, like we were all going through the same. Me and him were both going through the same things, and I felt like that just also like helped make us closer because we were already like brothers. But it was like we were both very vulnerable with each other, and I felt like that just made us like bond so much tighter than, I mean, whoever like is on the court. I mean, if you're playing with someone like you really genuinely care about, like that bond is going to be there, and like you'd run through a wall for him. So just to be able to play with someone that you know cares about you and you got each other's back 100%, I mean, it's special.
At what point in your high school career did it start clicking for yourself? Like, when did you start realizing, I am one of the better players in the state and I'm can be a guy that's going to play at the next level?
Um, like my junior year, like my junior year, I felt like I was starting to turn into that, but we lost. We were upset like early in the playoffs that year. Like I think like the first or second round.
Mhm.
Um, and really that summer, that's when I played with the family, and like I never felt like I had worked harder like at any point in my life. Like after that, um, and I mean I went and played with the family, but going into that summer, we went like undefeated like that whole summer, and I just felt like I was on like a rampage. I was so like mentally locked in that I was like, okay, like if I can do these certain things and I can help my team and I can hold everyone else accountable and Dre like does his thing, like I think we'll like there's no reason we should lose to anybody.
You always saw the rise of Marvin turn to the guy he eventually became, the number two pick, the star for the Kings and whatnot. But how was like seeing it? Like, when did you kind of get to know him a little bit? Like, just take us through your guys' relationship.
So I mean we always were playing against each other ever since he was younger, but it was different then because we're in probably like fifth grade. I'm probably about 5'4" maybe. So he's about like 6'2", like he's way bigger than this, but it's
Mhm.
like he's not that big. And I mean, he was still like learning, and he was this and that. But he came and like we always played against each other, but we were always cool. We started to play together. I went and played with Team Bibby in Portland, and there was like one. This is when he was in sixth grade. I was in seventh grade, and I ripped someone. Like I threw like a pass like behind my back, and he goes over like two hands, and the whole like rim like starts like the whole basket just starts going down. And I was like, bro, you're in sixth grade. How are you breaking the basket like Shaq? So I was ever since then. And then he came back. He started playing with us with the Arizona Future, and like at that point, like you could see it, like the way his dad and my dad like both pushed him. Like his dad has always been like on him like about like to be great, and then I felt like with my dad too, like he wouldn't like accept anything but the best from him. Like he wasn't extremely bouncy or anything, but like my dad was like, Marvin, dunk the ball every time. He could barely like get over the rim and stuff yet. So it was like once I just felt like he was being pushed so hard by two people, like all he could even accept for himself was greatness. So I mean, after that, then he started to play with WACG, and that's when you really started to see it. Like he's one of those different ones.
This kind of going a little bit in front, but now obviously you were teammates with his younger brother Marcus for a year at ASU, and I know you two are pretty close too. So like,
Mm-hmm.
when did you get to know him? Because him being a couple years younger than Marvin, like, how'd you guys get to know each other pretty well?
I mean, it's all like Marcus is like he's my brother now, so I mean, he's always been. But when we were like Mars my boy, like that's like we're each other's like right hand. So it's
Mhm.
Marcus was always like the younger one. He was always like he's I'm 4 years in school older than him almost. So it's like when I'm in high school, he's only in eighth grade. So it's like, oh, he's just like he's young, this and that. It's like me and Marvin are chilling. It's like, and he's just a little brother trying to kick it with us. But like this year, like being with him, like it was crazy. Like it was so much fun. I feel like me and him are so much alike.
Mhm.
Um, that makes like him and Marvin a lot different than like how me and Marvin's relationship is. Like me and like Marcus are really alike. Like our similarities and things we enjoy to do. And I mean, we're both gym rats. So I mean, um, just living with him this year, it's been a lot of fun. And I mean, I'm super excited for him going through this draft process and watching it every day. And
Mhm.
it's, although that's my boyfriend, I'd do anything for him.
Absolutely. Well, let's go through that recruiting process because you ultimately come down to Portland State, Coach Peary, and that's obviously an incredible fit for you as we clearly see what you did out there. But Kind of walk us through that. Like, why was Portland State the school you chose, and why was that the place you wanted to play your college career at?
So I mean, the now head coach, Jace Coburn,
Hmm.
he uh he was the assistant there, but he was a high school coach out here at McClintock.
Yep.
He coached Cam Forte over there. And I was always like, my dad was always in the Arizona basketball, so I was being dragged to all these games, watching everybody. And I met Jace like when I was way younger. So I mean, like my dad and him had that relationship. Like that relationship was always there. And he was the assistant there, and he was my first offer. And then I ended up committing, or no, I ended up I think I don't even think I committed. I think I just ended up signing.
Hmm.
And like at the beginning of my senior year, and at the end of my senior season, the coaches get fired there. So I was like, dang, like what am I gonna do now? Um, like I've been like signed for so long, like I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do. So then um Jace keeps telling me be patient, be patient. In Peary, when he was at ASU, he worked for Sendek,
Hmm.
and he recruited me when he was here. When they were also recruiting Marcus, like he recruited me pretty hard, and he called me at like 2 a.m. one night. He was like, "Is this Booboo?" I'm like, "Yo, who is this?" Like, I'm asleep. Like, who are you? And he was like, "This is your new head coach at Portland State." And I hung up on him because I thought it was like a joke. I was like, I'm not about to like play these games because at this point I was stressed out. Like I didn't know
Hmm.
what I was gonna do. I've been waiting for like a month or two for a head coach. Like I'm stressing out about it. And I'm just like, Jace is like, be patient, be patient. And he calls me back and he's like, so you're gonna hang up on your coach like the first time you ever talked to him? And I'm like, oh my God, like coach, I'm so sorry. Like I thought like I've been waiting for so long. I thought it was one of my friends like playing a joke on me. And I mean, we just had a good bond. Like our first time talking, and his play style and the opportunity he was going to give me as a freshman. It was still just it was a place I wanted to be, and then I even felt like it was a better situation with the new coach. So I mean, I was excited to go there.
Now, did you guys ever discuss that, how that all went down ever again, like after when you got on campus or anything? Did you ever talk about that or bring that back up again about the phone call?
Oh, he's probably hung up on me about 20 times because like he'll like I'll call him and then he'll be like, "Hey, what's up?" and I'll say something, then he'll hang up. And then he'll call me back and he'll be like, "Oh, I thought it was one of my friends playing a joke." He carried it on for 3 years.
That's awesome. So you get out there though, and like you said, you get a great opportunity, average nearly 11 points. I think that was third or fourth highest on the team that year. And you guys go 20-14, a really solid team out there in the Big Sky. Walk us through that freshman year. Like, how'd you get acclimated and be able to produce at such a high level right out the gate?
It was also tough for me. I was coming off the bench early. I never had came off the bench ever in my entire life, so I mean, it was new for me and it
Hmm.
was hard. So I mean, going through all of that, it was a struggle for me early on, but I just felt like I had to do what I could. Like I'm always gonna be that guy that'll sacrifice for the team and just do whatever, like before myself. And um, we end up we're like 10 games in. We play Santa Clara, and it's my first start. Like right before the game, my coach is like Boo, you're starting. I'm like, oh my God, like I'm so nervous. He was like, I didn't want to tell you because I didn't want you to like start getting in your head about it, thinking about it. Like just boom, you're starting. And I ended up having like 29 in my first start.
Hmm.
So I mean, ever since then, I just felt like I was like, okay, like I really like belong out here now, and now I just got to keep doing what like I've been doing like my whole life. It's like you show that you can do it. Like now, continue to just do what you've been doing. Like don't put pressure on yourself. Um, and yeah, like ever since then, there was just like no looking back for me. I felt like.
So when you came into college, how good do you think you're going to be? Like, did you think you're going to be able to achieve something that I don't think too many guys could in terms of putting yourself in the record books as high as you did in only 3 years? Like, do you think you're going to be that dominant once you got on campus, or what do you think your career is going to look like there?
I mean, I always had those goals for myself.
Yeah.
Um, But I mean, those are crazy things to think about. It's like when you're starting off, it's like, okay, I have zero total assists or zero total points. And it's like to think like thousands of points later, it's like, yeah, like it sounds like I can do it, but it's like that, like that's a lot of stuff you have to do. So I mean, I always set those goals for myself,
Hmm.
and I always held myself to this standard to do certain things. And I mean, but like when that was a big thing for me also. Like I declared like after my sophomore year, but me and my dad talked a ton about it. Because I had some overseas offers and stuff that like we were looking into, and some G League stuff. But my dad was like, those records, like those are gonna be there forever. Like no one's gonna care if you're third and fourth. Like you might as well go break them, and like
Hmm.
someone else can maybe break yours one day. And I mean that was a big deal for like my family, and I understood. I was in no rush to go and chase money or anything. I mean, like you're only in college once, so I mean, like to be able to do something like that, it was special to me. But to think at the beginning, like, yeah, you're gonna be first in this, first in this, first in that, I wouldn't have thought that.
That's interesting, Kyle. I was going to ask you about the declaring process after your sophomore year a little bit, but kind of get into that now then, because like you said, you obviously had an exceptional sophomore season. You're one of the younger guys to do all the scoring and whatnot. But so you were looking at going possibly going to a professional route, playing overseas or G League.
We had a lot of teams in the gym. Teams were actually coming to see me. My coach had good relationships. Um, our ops guy, we had a bunch of like ties. So I mean, also being right there in Portland and knowing Dame a little bit,
Hmm.
being good friends with Book. Like I felt like I had people like Marvin. Like I felt like I had people where I could be put in a position to
Hmm.
like where I could. I like obviously I believe in the player I am, but it's hard when you're coming from a school like Portland State.
Hmm.
I mean, just to be able to, I felt like I had a route, and I felt like I had a good enough year to where I could, I always felt like I could be put in a situation like I'm gonna show you like I belong. So I mean, a lot of people felt a certain way about it, but I didn't think it was a premature route, or I had the utmost confidence in myself. My family did too. So I mean, going through the whole process, it was fun. I had like a small little injury in my knee, so I wasn't able to work out for teams. But I had like two workouts planned, one on the East Coast and one with the West Coast team, that
Hmm.
I just wasn't able to do because of some injury stuff. But I mean, like those are things like not everyone gets. So I mean, I felt like I had my foot in the door, but with that and all the other offers and the records, and there was just a lot going on where I was just like that's gonna be there. Like I'm in no rush. So I mean, I felt like like I said before, like the records and everything like that, those were bigger, and I really wanted to go to March. And my team that year was special. We had a really good team. We won 8 in a row going into the conference tournament. And I mean, it's a big what if, but I mean, we all felt like that was finally our year. We finished third in the league. I think we were tied for second maybe, and we felt like we were really going to win the league. And I mean, COVID and everything happened after that. So
So let's head into that sophomore year a little bit because that really was your time where you really started getting a lot more national spotlight on you. You had 15 points per game, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. Like you were playing at an elite level, second team All Big Sky. Take us to that season.
that it was pretty similar to my sophomore year of high school. My freshman year we had these seniors that I could rely on, and then my sophomore year was like, okay, like you got to go now. And yeah, I just felt like I was kind of thrown into the fire, and I mean that's something I had been through already, so I felt like I was ready for it, and it's something I really wanted to be able to like put on my back and try to overcome. So I mean, there's not really like a big explanation for it. I just felt like I worked really hard that summer to just be ready for that.
So you go through the whole process that we just talked about, the draft process and whatnot. You decide to come back, but was that ever an option? Because I'm sure if you put your name in the portal at that point in time, you still would have got a lot more high majors in schools like that. Like, did you ever consider moving on to a different school at that point in time?
No, I wasn't even considering it.
Mhm.
I planned on going back to Portland State the whole time.
And that obviously paid off for you because you go out there 18 points per game, then 5 assists, 2 rebounds, 2 steals, first team All Big Sky. And then, of course, you move up to fifth all time points. You move to first all time assists, first in steals, eighth in field goal, free throw percentage. Like you do all that great stuff. So, what was that junior campaign for you like?
I mean, I felt like it was special. Like I said, my team was really good. Um, we were on a roll. We battled with injuries early, but once we had our team, like we were right where we wanted to be towards the end of the season. And then, I mean, COVID hit and it was really unfortunate. But I mean, I felt like I was able to put together a really good season for myself. And the plan originally was I was most likely going to go. We were going to go to the tournament. I felt like we could have won some games in the tournament with our play style, the way we pressed and everything. And I mean, depending on everything that happened and talking with my family and God willing and everything, I probably would have just declared after that. But I mean, it didn't end up happening that way, and everything happens for a reason. So I mean, um, yeah, now we're here.
Was one game I need to touch up on from that season because we know that it's a skill to be able to knock down free throws, and that's something that you've really mastered. You're one of the better free throw shooters out there. But there's a night you go out there against Montana, 21 for 21 from the free throw line. How did you get to the line that many times, and how were you able to make every single one of them?
Um, I mean, I just felt like that was a game where, I mean, also that was the game, my first game after the whole Kobe situation. So I mean, Kobe was a big idol for me. So just being able to go out there, I just felt like I was so locked in and ready to go. Also playing against our rival, Montana. There was just a lot at stake that game, and I just felt like I was so ready to go from the jump. And I mean, I didn't even notice the free throw thing until after the game. Like I knew I was shooting free throws, but I had no clue I shot like 21 free throws. So I mean, I wasn't even thinking about it. But at the end, like my teammates kept like giving me the ball because I had like 37. They like wanted me to get fouled and get 40. So they kept like throwing me the ball, but I had no idea about the free throw thing until like after.
And after that season, then we know COVID comes into play, and you guys all go into quarantine and whatnot. And at that point, is when you and I started getting to know each other because our first time meeting obviously was at the state championship game, and
Mhm.
then you start going to the transfer portal. And we know you had a lot of schools interested in you. Clearly, you go to ASU ends up being, but Gonzaga is in the mix. A whole lot of other schools. Like, take us to that final group though. Again, like, what led you to those final schools, and what really stood out of all the schools in the final group?
I mean, ASU, it was a special place. We had a special thing cooking up with the team we had and just what could have been. So I mean, that was a big pitch, and I mean it's what brought me here. It's a place I wanted to be. It was home, playing for Coach Hurley. Like those were all things that really like led me to coming here. Gonzaga obviously being like the powerhouse they are, and the role they were going to give me there. And I mean, you see what they did this year. So I mean, I felt like it could have worked out either way in that situation. Even Oregon State, they were pitching me a slow pitch, a home run, basically to come in there and really be one of the guys with Ethan and Jared Lucas, and they had a really good team. And I mean, they went to the Elite Eight. New Mexico, I liked everything they were saying to me. But there were some other issues that I kind of was a little not super confident in. In Portland State, I mean, that's where I was. I wanted to be able to go back and finish my senior year there, and just all the ties to being there for 3 years. So I mean, that was that.
So when you're going down that process, was ASU just by far better than every other school, or was there another school you'd say was finished second for you?
Gonzaga it was hard to say no to that. But I mean, ASU ran away with it with just everything Coach Hurley was telling me, and just it was just a super exciting thing going through that with them.
And at that point in time, too, like the goal and the anticipation for everyone still at that point was you're going to sit out a whole year. And now maybe there was an exception that could have got you the waiver, but the plan was, especially for ASU, okay, Remy's going to run the show this year. I'll be the backup, kind of just sitting it out, developing, waiting to take over the show. But when you're looking at all the different situations, like how much of that impact? Because Ethan, you probably would have been the backup, just waiting to replace him eventually. Same thing, I think you probably would have filled the Andrew Nemhard situation at Gonzaga. But like,
Mhm.
what was your original mentality coming out of this, having an expectation to sit out for a year?
Yeah, I mean, I was super excited with Coach Hurley about he was going to give me the opportunity to either like sit out or play if Remy had not came back. So I mean, I was excited about it. And like I said, that was my original plan. Like I had told you a year ago, to go in and just sit out a year and develop and just be here with my family and go through all of that stuff. So I mean, that was the plan, and kind of just step in like this next season and like fill that role and just be able to really be myself that next year at ASU.
So now let's get into this past season now, and we start off heading up into the season as a ton of hype. Obviously, you guys are a top-ranked team, and on paper, you guys are special looking. We're talking about guys top 10 in the country, and Jacob, a guy I think still is a top 10 player in 2020, and Marcus Bagley, yourself, Remy, Zoe, Tayshawn, like the list goes on. So this is a loaded roster. What was your expectation for the season, like heading into it? Like how much hype was in the locker room? Like just take us through before you guys started playing games.
I thought we were like a Final Four team, no doubt.
Mhm.
Our first practices were exciting, just like the teams being split up and like the talent we had all going against each other and the way the ball was moving. It was super exciting. I think all of us believed it.
Mhm. And we do know that you guys got hit by COVID injuries. Like the list piles up in terms of this just wasn't a season that obviously was easy to come through. But how did you guys kind of handle that in terms of the locker room? Like when you guys had the whole COVID break, the long one, and then each guy's kind of coming in and out of the team. How did you guys handle that chemistry wise in the locker room?
It was tough. I mean, it was hard to really build chemistry because
Hmm.
I seen this stat. There was only like 5 games where me, Remy, Zoe, Marcus, and Josh were all like active in the same game.
Yep.
So I mean, we were hit by COVID hard. We had like 3 separate pauses. We had one really long one. So I mean, it was just hard all year to build that chemistry, especially when you have a team like we did with all those really good players. And I'm sure if you look at a team like Gonzaga or even Baylor, like if they went through like what we went through, like I mean, I can't speak for them, but like would they have been the teams they were? So I mean, I
Mhm.
just felt like we went through a lot more adversity and we did the best we could to face it, but it was tough. It's hard to go out and win games against teams that are good and that are going to compete at the end of the day if we're missing guys in practice due to injuries or COVID or just whatever the case may be. And people love to point the finger at Coach Hurley, but there's only so much he could do when all of his guys are out for different reasons at some other point. So I mean, it was hard to have a team that was the most talented team I've ever been on, from top to bottom. But it's like just like throwing us out there in a pickup game to go play against the best teams in the country. So I mean, it's not realistic, and it was really tough. And I'm excited for Coach Hurley this year to be able to bounce back and have a special season this year. But it was really hard to like get it all together and really work without having all the non luxuries of COVID.
Mhm. That's something I feel like you guys didn't get as much benefit of the doubt that some of those programs did because we saw all the excuses. And I mean, it's a valid one, but we talk about Kentucky and Duke. Everyone's saying, yeah, they have all these young guys that they weren't able to get practice before. That's pretty much the same story for you guys. Yeah, you guys did have experience with you and Remy and Zoe, but you guys had two of the better players were freshmen coming in. You guys didn't get chemistry, and, and all you guys pretty much, except for Zoe, Remy, Jalen, and Tayshawn, really were not together. You guys all kind of came in new. So
Mm-hmm.
if there was no COVID effect, do you guys think you guys could have been the full force? Was that the biggest problem for you guys this year, or what really was the biggest issue for you guys this year?
Yeah, for sure. Having a team like that's a team like you need to be practicing in June. Like you need July. You need those practices to be able to build like not even on the court stuff to go and like just do stuff together and build those bonds. We couldn't even like hang out with each other really because of COVID. So
Mhm.
it's hard if you don't even really have a bond off the court with guys because of quarantine and restrictions and stuff like to really go out and like battle with guys on the court. So I mean, it was so tough this year, and I mean it just sucked. It was a tough year for us.
I want to ask about a couple of guys in there because one guy obviously is going to go down as one of the better players in ASU history, and that's Remy Martin. He could come back, might not. I think he is a guy that's going to be able to play in the pros whenever he chooses to. But just being around that type of point guard for an entire year, what's some of the biggest things you took away from him?
Remy's a great player. He's super explosive, great scorer. Yeah, just my biggest thing was playing against guys like him and Zoe every single day. It's like you're gonna get better. So I mean, I just felt like us two, us three, House, like us four, especially. I felt like we pushed each other every single day to be better. Like there wasn't like you just weren't ever able to take a play off because of
Mhm.
like what was coming at you or like who was going to be guarding you. Like you had to go every single day. And I mean, I just felt like that was a big thing for all four of us guards, especially to be able to. I felt like it helped all of us. We all benefited from it.
We already talked about one of the superstar freshmen in Marcus, but the other one is Jacob, who I think he started off obviously insanely high, and he was starting to rise up the top 10 in mock drafts. I think he still is a bona fide NBA type of player. But being around him for you, like, how special is he?
He's everything that they say he is. He's an extremely gifted scorer. He can get a bucket at any given time. He's extremely athletic, and he's a really good kid. He's someone that he's fun to be around. You just always enjoy his presence. He's a kid. He's gonna have his fun and everything. So I mean, I wish him nothing but the best. And like you said, he is no doubt an NBA player, and he's gonna bounce back this year, and he's gonna show everybody that. I have no doubt in my mind about it.
So the season comes to a close, and obviously you decided to put your name in the transfer portal, and you join with a lot of the guys are doing. Obviously, I think the number is well over 1,500 guys now are in the portal, but you make the decision. You have, I'm sure, a ton of schools that's in the mix for you. You choose to stay home, though, go to Grand Canyon. So walk us through this time in the portal. What was this past year like?
It was more about like knowing like what I was looking for rather than like letting everything come to me. So I mean, I there was I was getting a bunch of calls, but I wasn't taking a bunch of them either. So I mean, once I got like about 2, 3 places that I really wanted to go to, that I really felt like had my best interest, I kind of like shut my phone off at that point and just were really like dialing in and taking my notes and just really like locking into these 3 programs because I was like, this is where I want to be. And yeah, I mean, that was that with that.
So what were those things like? What were the biggest things you wanted to find in college this year?
I mean, team is everything. I love that team bond and everything, and the culture. I wanted to be able to be myself again, go out and like show everybody what I'm capable of doing, and maximize my talent. And I want to go to the tournament. So I had never been to the tournament yet. I felt like 3 years like this last season and then ASU season and then like this is it. Like I have to do it. It's been a goal of mine ever since I've been a kid. So I mean, why not now?
What were other schools in the mix? Like, where you want to stay home? Were the schools across the country? Like, who are the other schools, or maybe your second favorite school to possibly go to besides GCU?
I mean, I really had no idea. Like I didn't know who was gonna call. I didn't have anyone. Like I had no clue. So I mean, Peary went to Texas Tech, and he's the head associate over there. So I mean, there was that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I was really considering going back to Portland State again.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, not I. You're probably the first person that knows that, but I mean, yeah, I was really considering, especially with Jace getting the job there. Um, and I just knew what the situation was going to be in there, so that trust was there. Then I mean, with Coach Drew, I mean, obviously he won, so I mean, just what it was there. I mean, we got a special thing over here.
So that's what I want to wrap up discussing now with Grand Canyon, because this is a special team, and obviously there's so many transfer moves going on right now that's hard to give any specific team a lot of attention, especially when it's not a high major or whatnot. But when you look at this team that's coming together, we mentioned in the beginning, like it's loaded top to bottom, each position. Jovan, I think someone's going to be one of the top players in the conference, and you guys team back up together. Like the way this team's all coming together, like how excited does that make you personally?
It's super exciting, especially playing with guys that I've been playing against or played with like my whole life, like Jovan and Gabe, and
Yep.
there's guys like and just being able to play in an atmosphere like GCU. It's I mean you hear a ton of people say it, like it's the best atmosphere in college basketball. So I mean to be able to do that and be in my city, like where I'm from, like the West Valley, like where my high school career ended. I mean, just to be able to play at a place like that, it's just special.
Coach Drew clearly is something special. I know a lot of people were a little upset at first when Coach Marley got let go because he's obviously an Arizona legend for what he's done on the court.
Mhm.
But Coach Drew comes in here and he makes his team go to the tournament for the first time in program history, and he just has this different vibe. I know he's a strong believer too, but just what's his vibe like? Like, what's it like just being around Coach Drew?
I mean, I haven't got to talk to him in person yet, but I mean, we had a ton of Zoom calls, ton of phone calls, text messages back and forth. He's a super genuine guy. He's super faith based, and I mean, he just everything he believes in, and you can tell the confidence like he'll instill in you, and he just he's super respectful and just he's a great guy, and you can tell like you can tell who's fake and you can tell who's not, and he's someone that's really real, and I mean, I'm really excited to play for him.
So when you guys started talking, like, did you guys discuss faith at all? Yeah, I know you're also believers, so like, did you guys talk about that? And if so, how much?
We just touched on it a little bit. He just kind of like told me what it was there, and I mean that was a big thing for me. It was something I was excited about.
You mentioned the Arizona guys reuniting, obviously, with Jovan being a backcourt that I think is going to be lethal, you two together. How special can you two be just specifically, like, as a dynamic duo in the backcourt? Like, how elite will that be?
I just feel like our games really like compensate for each other.
Mhm.
I feel like we're both like guys that can make plays, and we're both guys who can score it. And I feel like that's someone like he had someone like House, and I have someone like Dre, and like now like we're playing together. I just think it's going to be special. So I mean, it's something I'm excited about. I never felt like I played with a player that like plays similar to how I mean our size is different, but that plays similar to like how I do, like
Mhm.
in like the way he makes plays and like the way he gets a shot. So I mean I'm super excited about it.
I haven't said this before to anyone yet, but GCU is the school I do go to, and I know a lot of people are excited about this team possibly going to the tournament run and getting to host the different stuff or whatnot. So when you're talking about the fans, they're already one of the better fans in the entire country. How excited just to be a part of that environment though, getting to be around those fans, the crazy student sections, like how excited are you for that?
It's I mean it's so exciting. I'm sure it's something everyone looks at like teams want to play at GCU. Like teams
Mhm.
want to come to GCU and play. So I mean just the atmosphere, especially coming off a NCAA WAC championship. The build up and everything that they got going on there is special, and just to be able to be a small part of it for 1 year, to be able to help us get a chance to go back and do it again, it's just super exciting.
Now we don't really know the schedule to a degree yet. There's some pieces we do know, and one of that is that yes, we'll be playing ASU this year, second part of the home and home series. Is there gonna be a little extra motivation when you play them? Like, what's that gonna be like going back to ASU and playing there?
No doubt. I mean, playing against your former team, there's going to be a ton of emotion in it, but I mean, I'm going to go out there, and I wish those guys the best of luck. But I mean, at the end of the day, like we beat them, so I mean, hopefully I can be on the winning side again.
Hmm. And then my last thing about GCU is the fans are excited to see you as well as all these other new guys. But what can you promise you can bring to them? Like every time you get on that court, what do you bring to Grand Canyon?
I mean, this is it for me. So I mean, I just want to go out and give it my all every single game. I don't want to promise amount of points or anything like that, but I mean, I'm just gonna go out there and like be myself and be able to bring like a leader and someone that they like the Lobe fans can count on and just rely on throughout the whole season. So I mean, I just want to be that guy for the program, and hopefully we can win a lot of games.
Absolutely, man. Well, a couple more things before I let you go. One of which is your Twitter name. It's the Great Boudini. We discussed your nickname Booboo earlier, but where'd the Great Boudini come from?
So Derrick Rose was my favorite player, and his Twitter name was the Great Pudini, like Pooh. And then I mean, like the whole wizard thing, and like me throwing no look passes, like everyone was gassing it up like that. So then I just thought about it, and then ASU really ran with it this year. Like they made it like a real, like they really made it like a thing. They helped me brand it a little bit. So I mean, I'll thank them for that one. But yeah, I mean, I've just stuck with it now. So I mean, I just like to have fun with it. I mean, I don't like to be all super serious and stuff on social media. I just like to have some fun.
The other thing you have is don't blink. What does that mean to you?
I mean, like the honest answer, like I really just made it up. Um, I really just put it as like a Instagram caption one day, and then we were playing someone my senior year in high school,
Mhm.
and some girl from the other team had like a big sign, and it was like "Don't blink," like number 3. And like after that, like I was like making a little bit of merch and stuff, and then like my senior year in high school, like it became like a thing. Like I remember for the state championship, my mom made shirts for like the entire student section. They're like white and navy blue, and they all said "Don't blink," the whole student section.
Absolutely, man. Well, something I was like wrapping up discussing is building a legacy for yourself. And we know your final college chapter now will be at Grand Canyon. So, but when you're done playing this game down the road, like what do you want to be remembered for what you achieved both on and off the court?
I just want to be that guy that's always been someone that people can like come to. I just want to be a reliable guy at the end of the day. I mean, I mean, I feel like that's all anyone could ask for. It's like, yeah, you can say you wanted to be great and have all these stats and do this and that, but I just want to be someone that was always like could be counted on and just an exceptional teammate.
I know you're also a believer, so walk us through your faith a little bit. How has God helped get you to the point you're at today?
I mean, 100%. I mean, I couldn't have done it without him. So, like I always say, God willing, without him, like nothing's possible. So, I mean, he's gotten me to this point and he's going to take me to wherever that next step is. And I mean, all I can do is work and continue to pray. So, I mean, I owe everything to him.
When would you say is the first time you really start getting that personal bond with God? Like, when did you really start connecting with him on that personal level?
Really in high school, I mean, I always believed in everything, but my dad like really sat me down and we got into it. So, I mean,
Mhm.
that was more when I really started to get that connection.
Absolutely, man. My final thing for you, give GCU fans your three biggest goals you have set for your lone season here.
Man, championship, no doubt. Final four appearance
Mhm.
and undefeated record at the crib.
Absolutely, man. Well, congratulations on the big move. Appreciate you taking time to come on today, and I'm excited to see what God got next for you, man. Of
For sure. I appreciate it. Thank you.
course, also come on, man. God bless.
All right, I'll see you. God bless.